What's up, Guardians, and welcome back, Warlocks. I'm Profane, thanks for checking out the video. As we explore the best builds in Destiny, we turn our focus back to Warlocks, where we're checking out a powerful solar build featuring a recently revised Starfire protocol. This will make for a great all-around build, as it has plenty of features to clear through enemies quickly, but it also has top-tier levels of damage output, making this a great build to use for optimal damage. And before we get started, I wanted to give a big shout out and thank you to my fellow clan member Chirps, who helped out a lot towards curating this build. If you do end up enjoying today's video, then please be sure to hit that like button below, along with the subscribe button if you're new. Both are greatly appreciated. This exotic provides the Fusion Harness intrinsic trait, which will give us an extra fusion grenade charge. We'll receive a 20% passive bonus to the base regeneration rate of our fusion grenade, and when we stand inside of an empowering rift or a well of radiance, we will generate 5% bonus grenade energy as we land sustained weapon damage, and will gain 15% bonus grenade energy when securing weapon final blows. This creates the opportunity for a very powerful gameplay loop, and with how we have our build set up, we're going to give our grenades a massive bonus in damage. We'll be able to increase their uptime even more, and we'll be applying constant scorch, which means we're going to be setting off continuous ignitions, and that's going to ramp up our damage output big time. What's new about this exotic is that we will gain these benefits whenever Radiance is active, which means we no longer have to stay tied down to one central location. In addition to the bonus grenade energy, we'll get a full recharge of our class ability whenever we defeat enemies with our fusion grenades. And since we no longer have to use an empowering rift, we could get away with using Phoenix Dive. And if we timed out our gameplay loop just right, we could throw a fusion grenade, activate Phoenix Dive to get cure applied, and as soon as our grenade kills the enemy, we'll have our Phoenix Dive energy right back. So there's a lot of survivability benefits that this will provide, removing the need for us to use extra healing components like Ember of Resolve. To amplify the performance of our fusion grenades, we will be using the Touch of Flame aspect, and this will give our grenades a second explosion, allowing them to deal twice the amount of damage and apply twice the amount of scorch. When it comes to our second aspect, it's going to be based on the situation. If we're doing a bit of traversal, we should probably go with Icarus Dash, but if we're going into a damage phase against a raid or dungeon boss, then we would want to put on the Helion Buddy for extra damage. Helion buddies would create problems for us when it comes to securing final blows with fusion grenades, so in most general gameplay situations, you might want to consider leaving this out. We do have the option of Heat Rises, which would improve Phoenix Dive, allowing it to scorch enemies and providing us with even more health benefits. It would also give us more melee energy, which means more opportunity to create scorch and ignitions. And if we were using the Ember of Torches fragment, it'd be easy for us to maintain the benefits of Radiance, but we would have to consume a grenade in order to activate Heat Rises. When it comes to our choice in solar fragments, we are using Ember of Blistering for the bonus grenade energy. This will provide between 8 and 25% bonus energy whenever we defeat enemies with ignitions. To further improve fusion grenade performance, we are using Ember of Ashes, which is going to double the amount of scorch that gets applied to enemies, and that's going to cause ignitions to get set off more often. And with the Ember of Char, our ignitions will spread scorch, which will make our fusion grenades even more effective when there's a lot of enemies. And the final fragment that we're using is Ember of Torches, so whenever we strike enemies with a powered melee, we are going to trigger the benefits of Starfire Protocol, and all of our weapons will receive a 20% bonus in damage. We could make use of the Fever and Chill artifact mod to be able to get Radiance, but it's going to be harder to maintain that Radiance, so I wouldn't recommend using this in place of Ember of Torches. As far as our choice in super goes, we have the option of going with Well of Radiance or Song of Flame. It's pretty customary for Warlocks to use Well of Radiance, at least when it comes to damage phases. This provides everyone on the team with Radiance and a continuous source of healing, and while it's active, we'll be able to constantly throw fusion grenades. The amount of healing that's provided by Well of Radiance will be based on your character's overall health stat, so for the maximum health benefit, you would need to invest into health. But the duration of Well gets determined by your super stat, so if you're wanting to deal the most damage out of Well of Radiance, you would need to invest more towards your super stat. But even at 200 points, you're only going to increase its duration by a few seconds. But if we could at least ensure that our super stat is at 100, we would get the 190% bonus given to any source of super regen. With Fusion Grenade Final Blows recharging our class ability, we can make use of the Dynamo mod so that we can gain bonus super energy whenever activating Phoenix Dive near enemies. This would provide 8% bonus super energy with 2 mods, but with a 190% bonus, that's going to be around 14 to 15% instead, which is much more than what we would get out of Ashes to Assets. Our main focus in character stats is our grenade, and by reaching 100 points, we will give all sources of grenade regeneration a 190% bonus, just like our super. So if you took the Demolitionist weapon trait as an example, a primary weapon that would normally give us 10% bonus grenade energy would now be giving us 19. So we would love to see weapons with this trait, especially since our grenades are going to refill their magazine. By getting our grenade stat to 200 points, we would give our fusion grenades a 60% bonus in damage, drastically improving the performance and damage potential of this build. And if we were to be using Song of Flame as our super, we would get that bonus damage applied to our Song of Flame grenade. So this would be a good option when running solo activities, especially since you'll gain a 90% bonus in damage resistance whenever it's active. If you do find yourself coming in a bit short with either grenade or super, then I would recommend to use font mods. This would provide you with 20 extra points with 1 mod, 40 points with 2 mods, and 50 with 3. We just need to be able to keep armor charges active, which is why we'll need to use Firepower, Siphon, and Reaper mods. When it comes to armor, we will need to keep an eye out for the Grenadier archetype, as this will drop grenades as the main stat, with super as the secondary stat. And for the purposes of optimal damage, I think it's best to look for weapons as a tertiary stat. We've got to apply sustained weapon damage to get bonus grenade energy, so there's no reason that we should deny those weapons bonus damage. When it comes to armor sets, we have a couple of great options. The Bushido armor set would grant health back whenever defeating enemies with freshly drawn weapons, and you only need to be wearing 2 pieces of this armor. There's also the new Solstice armor set, which would provide 35 points of health whenever rapidly defeating enemies with any solar weapon or any solar ability, but you would need to be wearing 4 pieces of this armor. There's also the new Raid armor set, which would extend the duration of Radiance and Restoration, but you're going to need a 4-piece set of that too. We mentioned Fever and Chill earlier, but there's quite a few additional artifact mods that we can make use of with this build. Elemental Coalescence will create fire sprites whenever we rapidly defeat enemies. Fire sprites provide 12.5% bonus grenade energy, so this will directly improve the uptime of our fusion grenades. Elemental Overdrive will provide our solar weapons with a 10% bonus in damage after collecting fire sprites, and that's going to stack alongside Radiance and weapon surges. We also have Shield Crush, which will give us a 25% bonus to our grenade regeneration and damage whenever Radiance is active, and that's going to stack along with the bonuses that we're getting from our exotic and character stats, making those fusion grenades incredibly deadly. We can also take advantage of Carterized Darkness, which doesn't work on boss level enemies, but it will give our solar damage a 30% increase whenever it's used against enemies who are severed, unraveled, slowed, or frozen. So if we added in a stasis or strained weapon that could apply a debuff, we could give ourselves an even bigger advantage. So we would need to look for traits like Chill Clip, Headstone, Slice, and Tear. We've mentioned a few weapon traits that we need to look for, but a few weapons that you'll want to use with this build include the Yeartide Apex. This SMG has a lot of great perk options, but the one that really works well with this build is Demolitionist and Burning Ambition. Burning Ambition is such a great trait to have, especially in in-game content, as it applies Scorch on sustained damage. Incandescent would also be a great option, but it's much more beneficial when you have a lot of rank and file enemies. And since we don't need to get a final blow to trigger Burning Ambition, it's going to be a much better option against tankier enemies. Area denial grenade launchers like the Lost Signal or Festival Flight would be a great addition to apply continuous ticks of damage, and that's going to work out great for recharging our fusion grenades. Because it offers the trait combination of Envious Arsenal and Bait and Switch, the Mint Retrograde would make for a great strained weapon to use for optimal damage, and because it can pierce barrier shields, it's going to be great against champions. It even offers Slice, so it could help towards triggering Carterized Darkness. The Outrageous Fortune continues to be one of the best heavy options for us. Burning Ambition and Incandescent together would be an incredible option in terms of crowd control, but the combination of Envious Arsenal and Bait and Switch is going to be the go-to for optimal damage. In terms of exotic weapons, the Dragon's Breath will be one of the most reliable options. This applies continuous Scorch and creates its own ignitions, so it's going to pair up great with the Starfire protocol. There's also the Lord of Wolves, Tommy's Matchbook, and Sunshot. And with that, we have ourselves an incredible solar build that's going to absolutely rip through enemies at any level of content. So if you've been looking for a great solar warlock build to use here in Edge of Fate, then you should really try this new variant of the Starfire protocol. And once you've tried it out, let us know what you think. That's going to wrap things up for today's video, but thank you as always for checking it out. If you enjoyed and found it helpful, then be sure to hit that like button below, along with the subscribe button if you're new. Both are greatly appreciated, and both really do help support the channel, and so does being a member. So a big shout out and thank you to all of our channel members. And until next time, Guardians, this has been Profane, wishing you all some happy hunting.